And I spoke to the Federal Minister for Families, Community Services and Indigenous Affairs earlier. Jenny Macklin, thank you for talking to Stateline.
My pleasure.
First of all, I'd like to put you to the criticism that was made by the Northern Territory Senator Nigel Scullion this week that the Northern Territory government's handling of Indigenous housing has been an abysmal failure. Do you agree with that assessment?
We've had an independent review of where the program in the Territory is up to. It's found that the whole remote Indigenous housing program in the Northern Territory is now on track to deliver the 750 new houses, the 2,500 refurbishments and 230 rebuilds in the time that we've said in the 5-year period. So I certainly expect that to be delivered.
But just this week we've had complaints from Santa Teresa about the quality of the refurbishments there. Do you concede that it was a mistake to cut back on the amount of money being spent on those refurbishments?
Well, what we've done is put in place a new independent quality assurance program which the Commonwealth is funding. I understand they'll be out in Santa Teresa next week. We certainly do expect, and I personally expect, that the National Indigenous Housing Standards are met, and that particularly goes to the healthy living criteria that must be addressed. So I will expect that those refurbishments meet those standards, and the quality assurance people will be out there next week.
And will that assessment determine whether you stick with the alliance model or not, or do you think the alliance model has its intrinsic problems?
As to the whole alliance approach, of course, we've just had this independent review saying that the program is now on track in the Northern Territory. Of course, as we go forward into the rest of the national partnership, which will last over 10 years in the Northern Territory and in the other states, we'll make an assessment as to what the best contracting approach should be.
And do you think that Wadair example shows up the alliance to be, in a way, in that example, actually adding to the costs where the community could do its own building?
I think what we're seeing in Wadair is a terrific example of local enterprise, and if I can just say to those who are involved in Wadair, both the people running the businesses and the people who are taking the jobs, it really does demonstrate the benefit of us being determined to get as much local employment and local business participation as possible. And of course this has been able to be done within the alliance process. As to whether or not we'll continue that into the future, we'll make that assessment in a year or so's time.
Now, on another front, your government this week passed legislation that will see the extension of welfare quarantining to non-Indigenous people in the Territory. Aboriginal Land Councils, Legal Aid, Medical Services have all criticised this move as not being evidence-based. Do you have any direct evidence to show that welfare quarantining is working?
Well, we've got quite a few pieces of evidence. One is, of course, the very extensive consultations that were conducted right across the Northern Territory last year, around 500 different meetings. The majority of people who participated in those consultations certainly indicated that income quarantining, welfare management was useful to them and their families, was seeing more food on the table. We've seen a Central Land Council survey last year also finding that the majority of people saw income quarantining as a useful tool. There are different views in the organisations that you're talking about. Some welfare agencies can see the value of income management, others have different views. We certainly know from the survey that we did of stores in remote communities that more food is being purchased, more clothing being purchased, less being spent on grog and gambling. So I think these are very positive indications of the value of income management.
Now, the plan to roll out welfare quarantining in the Barkly district and Alice Springs is set to go ahead in August. What's involved in that, and how long will it take you before you're able to roll it out across the Territory?
We do expect that the rollout across the whole of the Northern Territory will take the rest of this calendar year, so over the next 6 months. We do want to make sure that Centrelink's got time to communicate with individual people in the different regions as it's rolled out. So they're in the process of getting all of their materials ready. As you indicate, we expect it to start in August, and of course individuals will need to be provided with information about how it's going to affect them. That process is now underway.
Now, your plan, and you say you want to roll this out nationwide, but at a price tag of $400 million for the Territory alone, is it realistic to look at that and affordable?
What we want to do is evaluate the impact of delivering income management in the Northern Territory. We'll start the evaluation in detail after we've had around a year's experience in the Territory, so from the end of 2011. Then we'll also look at those areas of Australia which are very disadvantaged and where income management would be helpful.
Jenny Macklin, thank you very much for talking to State Line.
Thank you.